All right, good morning, everyone. Can you hear us in the back? Yes? Louder? Good. Thank you all for coming out this morning. We did have our first hurricane preparedness meeting earlier this week, so it's very nice to see what a wonderful group we have, that you all are taking emergency plans very seriously. I do want to start with, again, thanking you all for coming and understanding that we are up. Our first and foremost, our priority is your protection and your safety. We do have to consider our higher levels of care, meaning our assisted living and memory care neighbors, as well as our skilled nursing. So, slower? Yes, ma'am. So, and with that being said, what we're here to do today is to really have a clear understanding of what Cypress will be able to provide for you in the case of an emergency, what that process will look like, and to ensure that as independent living residents, we understand that we have other levels of care that will take first priority in making sure they are stabilized. And that's why we're here today, to make sure that your independent plans are also going to be secured, that we can enact them in the case of an emergency. So with that being said, we will have questions towards the end, but we're going to just really walk through our guide, and I'm going to hand the microphone over to Dave Green. He's going to be doing our presentation today. And again, please hold questions to the end, and I will be happy to answer all of them. Thanks so much.
Good morning, everybody. Hey, can I get a show of hands whose first summer that is here at Cypress Village? All right, that's good. Yesterday, or when we had the other one on Monday, almost 3/4 of the audience was brand new. So we, you know what's going on, that we're going to have a pretty active hurricane season this year. They're blaming mostly the temperatures of the ocean and the way the winds are going. So that doesn't mean we're going to get hit with a hurricane or anything like that. It's just that we have to be hyper vigilant this time of year. So this year we've done a new alert system for just the community to help y'all have ease, sense of ease or whatever you want to call it, so that you're comfortable. Right now we're in alert level green, and we'll stay in green until there is a storm out there. Once a storm watch, does everybody know the difference between watch warnings? We'll go into that a little bit further, but once your watch is put into the place for the area, we would move to the yellow. At yellow, you should have everything in place already. If you're evacuating, or you're no problem, or if you need special needs, you should be able to have that already set up, and now is the time to activate it, is when you're in the yellow. So if you have special needs, oxygen or something to that effect, and you're going to evacuate to one of the special needs shelters that are in place, I believe the closest one to us in the past years has been Atlantic Coast High School off of 295. It's not far away, but I know we've had some residents that needed oxygen and electric during the storms, that they would evacuate to there for the storm. And then level red, this is when everything shuts down. This means we're going into a warning, which means we'll have strong storm possibilities within the next 36 hours. Everything shuts down at that point. Depending on the weather, we may or may not be able to deliver or pick up meals at that point. Remember, emergency services and transportation might be suspended depending on road conditions. Dining services, everything would be boxed and to go at that point. So at that point, we're really batting down the hatches. This is when, if you're worried about if you're on the balcony, you have stuff out there and you need to worry about it. Here at Cypress Village, what we do is 24 to 36 hours before the storm, Tree Amigos and my techs and housekeeping will come around to not just the homes, but the apartments, and get stuff off balconies that people need help with and that kind of stuff. If you have storm shutters, in the past 2 storms, Tree Amigo went down and helped you put them down in the homes. Same thing with my technicians. Anything on the back porches that need to be put in the garages. So normal work orders and that kind of stuff take a back seat at that point to getting ready to the storm. Now, of course, if you have a leak or your AC quits working or something to that effect, we jump on it still, obviously. But at that point, that's where we're preparing for the storm. And here it is, tropical storm versus a hurricane. Tropical storm is 39 miles an hour to 73. And then a hurricane is over 74. It goes from level 1 to level 5 right now, 5 being over 155 miles an hour. Which, in case anybody's worrying, we would have to have a direct hit with a Cat 5 coming at us for us to evacuate. Okay? We are in evacuation zone E, which is one of the lowest, and flood zone X, which is also one of the lowest. So we don't have to worry about either one of those. We used to worry about San Pablo flooding and us not being able to get out of there. But since they put that exit onto JTB off behind Mayo, we can get out. So unless there's trees or down power lines or something that happens during the storm. So all that being said, this is the time to get your stuff ready. You know, get your excess water. Everybody, they recommend a gallon of water a day per person. And that's not to drink it as much, but if, for God's sakes, the sewer lines go down and you need to flush, you can use the water to put in your toilet tank. JEA has a lift station that does all the sewers here on property. They have a backup generator with diesel and everything, so it would take that to run out before we would have to worry about something like that. But they also use the same fuel company that I do, so we also would need, if we're out for that kind of extended amount of time, we would need more fuel for the generators. The generators for the independent living only power one side of the hallway lights and the one elevator in each bank. So there'll be no lights in your apartment. There'll be no AC in the apartment. Those are things that you're going to have to be prepared for. And if you're, if it's something that you're not going to be able to handle, then you're going to need to evacuate and find another place to go. But up here is definitely right now the difference between watch and warning. Watch conditions are favorable for serious weather within 48 hours. Warning is take action, serious weather imminent, and inspected within 36 hours. You should already have your emergency plan activated with your friends and family. Is there anybody in here that would look to evacuate? Okay. So the community in general, we have an A team and a B team. A team is here to storm. I have 4 or 5 guys on my team that will be here, as well as Robert and myself. Housekeeping has a little bit smaller of a crew, but they have to take care of skilled nursing and assisted living and memory care is their highest priority. And then dining, and everybody else has a smaller staff on property. Once we get through the storm and everything starts coming back to normal and people can travel, that's when the B team comes in to help to clean up and get back to normal. So that's pretty much how it works. I've been here 11 years. We've had about 5 storms come through. 2 of them were the worst, Irma and Matthew. During Irma, I believe the tower went out for 18 hours. We had no power. It was from like 3 a.m. to 6 p.m. It wasn't too bad. It was a pretty windy day. A lot of people kept their AC or their doors and windows open. But we got through it. Power came back on at 6 p.m. that night. ACs, everybody was working. Then Matthew, I believe the houses were out of power for over 24 hours. And the reason that is because we're on 2 different circuits, actually 566 and 569. So if one of them goes down, then the other doesn't go down. We used to be on Mayo's circuit. As the new substation went up, they're on their own now. So we are no longer on Mayo's circuit, which means we don't have the same priority to get back up. We are still in the top level priority because we are a senior community, but it's not as high as it was when it was with Mayo. So hence, when we had the power outage a month ago, it took them almost 4 hours to get us back up. I believe that wouldn't have happened if we were still on Mayo's circuit. So, yes. If we're required to evacuate, we have plans with other communities to bus everybody too. We have a contract with coach buses, and we would be evacuating to Lakeport Square, and I forget what the other one is up. They're all down by Tampa, Bradenton area. So, what's your question? No. Okay, yeah. If we're mandatory evacuation, we have a contract with a bus company called Bus Finders, and they would provide us what we needed to evacuate. Yeah, one of them's called Lakeport Square, and I forget what the other one, but it's down there in the Bradenton, Sarasota area. Yeah, they're both. It's where 6 or 7 of our sister communities are that are in our same region that came over from Brookdale when we all got bought at the same time. Closest one is Leesburg in the Villages, but I don't believe that's who our agreement is with. It's Lakeport Square and somebody else. All right, so communications probably be my next bets, because if you have special needs and it requires electricity, then you should really be looking into evacuating to one of the special needs shelters. Emergency communications. Laurel, do you want to come up and mention this?
Okay. So some of our main form of disseminating information will be through our mass text and through mass call. Many of you receive them on a regular basis, but I did do an audit yesterday, and there's about 100 or so residents who have opted out of either call, text, or both. So I've pulled that information, and you will be getting letters in your in-house boxes over the next, probably by tomorrow. Security will have them out tonight. So you will be aware whether you have opted in or opted out. If you do not receive that letter, you're fine. If you get the letter, then action is needed if you want to opt in. To opt into our text system, then you have to text unstop. This is only for those of you who have opted out prior. Text UNSTOP, unstop, all one word, to our main number, 904-223-6100. We cannot opt you in. It's a federal law having to do with telephone communication, just like how you have rights against solicitors and those spam calls. We also are restricted by that. We can't opt you in on our end. We can, however, opt you into the phone calls. So if you want to receive phone calls from us, then you can just call the concierge desk to make sure that you are opted into the phone call. Again, that's only if you receive the letter, have you previously opted out. Additionally, we're going to do a test, text, and phone call on June 10th at 2 p.m. So mark that down in your calendars that if you do not receive a text or a call from us on that day, that there's something awry that the concierge desk and I can figure out together, okay? So again, that's June 10th at 2 p.m. We're going to do a June 10th at 2 p.m. We're going to do a test, text message, and call. For those of you who that's not an option or that's not your desired option, then you can call in to our community's emergency hotline. The number's in red there. It is 904-863-7140. You can give that number to your loved ones as well, anybody that you would want to be able to have access to our updates. The same message that will go out via text and phone call will also be recorded here on the emergency hotline. That has to do with what emergency alert level we are in. As Dave spoke to, we're going to have green, yellow, and red. And under each level, under each color, you will know by referring to your guide what is automatically going to happen once we enter that. I wanted to touch on it just a little bit more. We will enter the alert level green once we know that there is a hurricane watch in effect. Business will be as usual. However, there will be some cancellations such as housekeeping services, select activities, things like that, so that we can get our teams behind the scene preparing the community for the weather event. Once we are in threat level yellow, as Dave mentioned, that is when we know that we're going to have where we are either in a warning state or will be entering a warning state. That means that our staff on Team A, it's only 25% of our staff, of our employees, but it's a mighty group. We will come in with our duffel bags and air mattresses and begin sheltering in place once we reach the threat level yellow. And then things like activities, housekeeping, and transportation services will be canceled. By the time we announce threat level yellow, you need to be evacuating if that is your plan. And everyone is different. And just so you know, you don't get a gold star or a badge for weathering a hurricane event, sheltering in place. Sometimes, even though you are fine, maybe your loved one is not. And if you cannot comfortably withstand 80 degrees plus without air conditioning, if you cannot be without electricity for any reason, if you're on an oxygen machine, things like that, then you need to make those plans in advance to evacuate. We can help you with the planning in advance, but once the weather event is here, like Dave said, the only building that's going to be on full generator power is our skilled nursing facility. Our higher levels of care, in the event that assisted living and memory care is without power for an extended period of time and they get above 80 degrees in the neighborhood, then we need to relocate them to the skilled nursing facility. But there will not be room for independent living residents there. So please keep that in mind, that it is best for you to evacuate if you have any question or concern about weathering the storm independently without our assistance. And then, of course, threat level red, that's when we're going to be in the midst of the storm. And chances are that if the power goes out, we automatically enter level red, which means that everything's canceled and we're going to start delivering to your apartment, your hurricane meal, which is basically a bagged lunch type deal. And food deliveries to houses will not be possible. So just keep that in mind, okay? And the emergency systems that security uses, your little the life alert pendant type deal, your pull chains, your check-in systems, all of that will be disabled when the power goes out, if we lose power at all. So just keep that in mind. And then we're lucky that we have Engine 59 next door, but they might not even be guaranteed to enter the property if it's a severe enough weather event. So keep that in mind as well, that 911 might not be accessible either. So again, if you have any questions or concerns about that, it's best to make plans to evacuate. Back to this again, if you need to correct any of your information or confirm any of your information, that is handled at the concierge desk. And then again, just mark your calendars for that June 10th test, call, and text to make sure that you are getting those.
All right, good deal. Anybody have any questions for Laurel about that? Yes, ma'am. Yes. Everybody that's been put on the form is going to get contacted Tuesday. All right. So now we're on to dining services. Throughout a storm, our goal is to maintain buffet service in the Middleton's Eatery and set the cost at $16. In event this is not possible, emergency takeout, bag, box lunch will be available for independent living who wish to use their dining dollars. There'll be no food or alcohol in the Loon's Nest or Sandpiper. That will all be suspended during the weather event. Food delivery to appointments and houses will be suspended during the emergency conditions, but that could change. I know in years past, we've delivered all the meals to the apartments during lunch and dinner, as we really want residents to stay in their apartment during the weather event. So up there on the side, there is a sample disaster menu. So these are just ideas of what they came up with, what we would have for lunch and dinner, depending on how bad the storm is. And the kitchen is fully functional when the power is out, but the dining rooms will not be. So there'll be no power or AC in the dining rooms. All right. Any questions about that? Yes? No? Okay. Gathering supplies. So water, non-perishable items for several days. Flashlights, batteries, prescription, over-the-counter meds, eyeglasses. Prescription should be, 30 days if you got that much. Sanitation, hygiene products, cell phones and chargers, backup batteries. Make sure you got a full tank of gas and any supplies your pets will need. We will have charging stations for cell phones and whatnot available. We already have those in stock. We'll need them for the staff as well. So you just come down and plug it in possibly. Emergency services. All right, so this is a tax holiday that came up, started June 1st to June 14th. All this stuff that you see on here is tax-free during this time, and then August 24th to September 6th. So it's a good time to get a lot of your hurricane supplies. All right, so emergency services such as fire and rescue may not be available. Cypress Village will have limited personnel available and will prioritize requests. There will be no daily check-in system. All transportation is canceled. In event of the power outage, majority of the on-site staff will be working in our regulated areas. Again, no emergency call attendants. The generators will only power the emergency lights on one side of the hallway and one elevator in each tower. Outlets will not work. Air conditioning's not available. It says fuel capacity is 18 hours. That's short. I believe we can get 36 out of them without refilling. But again, we have a contract with a fuel company that will come and refill us when we need it. But that's also depending on the roads being passable. Houses, the emergency call systems will be out of operation. Like I said earlier, they're on a separate grid. So it says please refrain from calling the maintenance office or concierge and security on a power outage, because most of the time we know before you guys do. So. All right. Any questions on that? Yes, Leo. Not at that point. They would not in this building. The way it works is a law came out about 4 years ago that said if you're in a nursing home or a memory care unit and it gets to be 80 degrees for more than 4 hours, that you have to be evacuated. So If that happens up there in 5, 6, and 7 for assisted living memory care, we will evacuate them to the skilled nursing facility where they'll be put up on air mattresses, cots, and the better available beds. Yes. Rehab is fully functional now. When the power goes out, you don't even know the power is out. And that's what actually Brookdale did back when we put those 2 big generators outside. Yes, ma'am. Mostly down here. Probably the concierge, that kind of stuff. That's where we've kept them in the past. Concierge in the storm is the hub of the community at that point. Any questions you have, if the phones are working, you call down there. If not, go down, come down. We prefer everybody stay in their apartment, but you guys are adults and you know when we're in a dangerous situation and when we're not in a dangerous situation. So we never really had that kind of problem in the past. Well, the problems that we've had in the past is family coming in and wanting to stay and then expecting us to feed them as well. That kind of stuff. We can't do that. We've had the Loon's Nest open. We've had some drunks in there. Those are all things in the past that we've had going on. I did have a resident who was in their recliner when they fell asleep and the power went out and she couldn't get out of it, so she didn't call anybody. She called 911, and 59 was not happy with us that night. But we were, because they cut up 2 trees that had fallen across the road on their way in. So we are pretty safe in this building. I haven't ever not felt safe, just so you know. We had some, Matthew was pretty crazy, Irma was pretty crazy for not a long extended time, probably 3-4 hours tops. I've talked to my counterpart down in Charlotte, Port Charlotte, where they got hit with that Cat 5 a couple years ago. They said that was one of the scariest things ever. They had their residents sheltering in the hallways because the windows had blown into their apartments. In an apartment building. It was a much older apartment building than ours, but at the same time, it was still scary, obviously. And I was talking with Sherry Robinson, who you guys know. She was there. She was sheltering in the hallway with the executive director and everybody else. And that lasted a good 10, 12 hours. So you never know. Security. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Security could have probably come and helped her out. If not, they would have gotten a maintenance guy up, and to give him a hand. We would have tried anything we could have before we called 59. So that's just a quick overview of what we've had here in the past. I mean, we've had some funny things. And we have some, we never really had some bad things. We've had a couple trees fall on houses. One of the slides says that the residents would be responsible if a tree falls on your house, and that is true to the point where you got to call your homeowner's insurance. I will definitely, myself, Robert, my guys will help get the tree off. If we can't, we'll get our tree guy, Mike Huffman, who is on call for me. And I also have another tree company as well. Same thing. Well, you wouldn't have to call your homeowner's insurance, but yeah, you just call maintenance. Trees on the house. We'll get out there as soon as we can, do our best to get off what we can, and then if we're scared or afraid that if we cut this one, it's going to cause more damage, then we'll call the tree guy. Tree Amigos will also help. We had a tree come down on a house 3 weeks ago during the storm. Wasn't a big one. But Tree Amigos did a real nice job getting it off within like an hour. Yes, sir. No, I never had that problem before. To be honest with the water services, whether or not it'll be working, I haven't yet to have that problem. We have the water treatment plant right outside on your right-hand side as you're leaving the facility. They're backed up as well as we are. I have not had that problem. It might be slower if our pumps aren't working, but it should still flow. Yeah.
Does the sliding glass doors on facing the lake on the B wing, the older wing, are those storm?
No, they're blowout. They're blowout. Of course, the B building actually is the newest of all the buildings. In 2004, he asked if the B building doors and windows hurricane rated. And all of them in the building are, just so you know. But B is the newest because they were just replaced with brand new doors and windows in 2014 and 15. So anybody here was in that project, they would have known what a nightmare that was. Yes, sir. No, we are expected to evacuate if we were in a mandatory evacuation. Yes, we are. You'd be hanging out with me, I guess. I don't know. To be honest with you, I've not had that question before. Maybe Katie knows. She's running up. Yeah. Yeah, somebody will have to be back here in case the place falls in the lake. I'd go down with the ship. The evacuation would, if that's going to happen, or if we're getting to a point where they're worried about the roads being blocked and the bridges being closed, they're going to evacuate us long before that. And they'll make it a mandatory evacuation for our area. But as you saw on that slide earlier, we're evacuation zone X. So that is about as low down on the pole as you could get to. Same thing with flood. We're not in a flood zone whatsoever. We used to be afraid, the most of the thing we were afraid of is San Pablo would flood, because that does. And then we wouldn't be able to get out either way to beach or JTB. But now they put that exit in Mayo, and I have chainsaws. That would be the only thing that would stop us from getting out of there. Okay, but if the city says we're in a mandatory evacuation, we are evacuating. Everybody.
If the building loses power, what are the chances the elevators are going to work?
The elevators, if the building loses power, what's going to happen with the elevators? One elevator in each bank's going to work. The reason why it didn't in the last blackout that we had is because we had a problem with the elevator out, or the generator out here. That's been repaired. And we have the generator company on retainer as well. That everybody probably in here knows, or at least most of you guys know, that you can hear the generator running every Monday between about 10 and 12, and that's testing. It's an automatic thing. So it was weird that it tested that Monday properly, and then Thursday when we had the power outage, the battery was dead. So we already knew that if it was a real main emergency, we would have taken over there, whatever we had to do to jump the thing started. But it was a good emergency for us, so we used it as a good training section. So state requires us to do emergency disaster drills twice a year, one internal, one external. That worked very well for us. Yes, ma'am.
When you say one elevator in each bank, does that mean each tower? Like
Yeah.
a tower just out of the two?
Yeah, one will work, and which elevators will work, and I believe it's the right side. I guess it depends on the depends on the bank, but one elevator in A, B, C, D will work. Yes, ma'am.
If we have water available, why do we need to store water?
Because if we have some kind of crazy storm surge and the JEA gets inundated and has to shut the water down, then we would. Yes, it would be as a precaution. Main line that supplies Cypress Village is broken because of some disaster or another, and they have to shut our water down, and then we're in a boiled water alert. You know, that's what we would need the water for. So I would keep a couple gallons in the apartment. Tricks, this is like old school tricks. Fill your bathtub, you know, before the storm comes in. That's always good water for the toilet. Oh yeah, a lot of people don't have bathtubs anymore. Sorry. That's your fault. You guys are making me take them out. Yeah, that's another good one too. One of the totes and storage bins, the plastic storage bin. That's a good one to fill up. You know, you could do that in the shower. Might take a while. But those are just a few of the tips that we try to do around here. It's one year we had no tree damage. The next year, me, Mike, and Peter were out there cutting trees in everybody's yard. So it's no rhyme or reason to what happens, and that's kind of why we really, if you need evacuation or you need special needs, we really say to go to one of the shelters. We're going to do our best to keep everybody safe, but we never really know what's going to happen. And I mean, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I can't even remember, there was a Cat 5 coming right down the Florida Peninsula, sat off the Bahamas for a week, you know, messing them up. And we thought it was coming right at us, and then all of a sudden it hit St. Augustine and took a right-hand turn, and we got a little bit of rain and wind. So we were here evacuated. We've been here for 2 days because it slowed down. You just never know. They've given us good warnings now, and the news is, you know, Weather Channel. And, I mean, if Jim Cantori's at Jack's Beach, we're out of here. That's all I got to say. So, yes, ma'am. How high does the lake get? It can only get so high before it spills over behind the houses on William Davis. It's connected to a spillover that goes into the preserve. One of the storms, it never got up to the bridge, my bridge, if you know which one I'm talking about. My Memorial Bridge, the gray one. It didn't get up to that. But I've seen it pretty close, like within inches. But it never goes over the banks or anything like that. We never even came close to that. But it goes through the spillway underneath Middleton Park East into the Finger Lake that goes around behind William Davis, and there's a spillway out there. And it goes into the preserve and the wetlands out there. Yes, ma'am. No, I don't like any open flames. Yeah, the candles is the question. I don't prefer candles. I get it. I know which ones you're talking about. We have like a ton of them at home. Lisa's a candle person. Oh, lanterns? The gas-powered ones? No. There are a lot of new. There's a lot of new lanterns and stuff like that that are battery operated. That will light up your whole room. I think Laurel's going to try to put either a link or a picture of one in the newsletter or something coming up. That will, if it's charged, it will actually charge your phone. There's a plug for your phone. We talked about it in the last one, so. Yes, she'll put a link out there for you guys to check out. It wasn't too expensive. I have a ton of flashlights and lanterns and everything in my area. Assisted living is stocked. I'm sure skilled nursing is stocked. That's one of the big pushes, obviously, for the company right now is to get all our hurricane PARs in place. Anybody got any other questions? I got a couple more things to go over, I think. Yeah.
So this presentation, Katie's recorded. We're going to have a video uploaded to YouTube. With that link will go out, or you can go to our youtube.com/Cypress Village website. And this presentation is your hurricane guide. So if you did not get a hurricane guide, please see Chrissy in the back, and you can pick up a paper copy of this. It's all of the same information, okay? And then, of course, if you have any questions, we're going to keep putting more information out in the newsletter, in the weekly updates, and coffee chat, and especially leading up to a severe weather event. So thank you so much to Ashley and Dave for getting this all squared away and Katie recording, and I hope you all have a great day and a blessed weekend. All right, bye-bye. Oh, sorry, one more thing.
Sorry, one more thing, you all. Before we leave, if you have not already filled out your hurricane preparedness form, Chrissy does have extra copies in the back. Please note there is a very easy QR code on the front that will help you. You can do it electronically. If you want to do it paper form, please note there are two sides. Some of us we've received quite a few back. Some of them have not been filled out with both sides, so those were being put back in your mailbox cubbies or your mailboxes to fill out completely and return to the Wellness Center. Chrissy also has a disaster supply kit checklist in the back, so please see her if you'd like any of those resource tools. Another quick tip on, and when it pertains to emergency services, if you do not already wear your pendant, we had the story of our friend that was trapped in her recliner and could not get out when the lights went out. Please make sure your pendants are located, that you know where they're at, and that when an emergency warning does come on, if we move to a yellow category, please make sure you have your pendants on you at all times during that state of emergency. So with that being said, thank you all so much and have a wonderful rest of your day.